What's happening, MJ traders and investors? It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. It's Wednesday, May 3rd. Hope you're well. Happy hump day. And in this video, going to be discussing some exciting news. There's an article that came out. A multi-state operator announces a dividend. And this is one of the first, and it's saying that it could be one of the last for the foreseeable future. But I want to go over my thoughts and opinions on this. This is obviously probably a company that not many people have heard about. It's privately held. But before we get to it, make sure to smash the like, help support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell to be notified on any future videos or when I go live. So this is the article from MJ Biz Daily. MSO Greenlight dividends is an apparent first for the industry and last for now. And if you recall, I did a video, it was from 4 months ago. Curaleaf founder Boris Jordan and executive chairman, in an interview, and in this video I go over it, he talks about how under 280E tax code, Curaleaf has paid over $340 million to the US government under that tax code. So if not for 280E, he said that the company would more than likely already be paying a dividend. And in that video, he said that he believes that MJ companies in the future are going to be high cash flowing businesses that are going to offer a lot of dividends, which I found extremely interesting, and I agree with. It's just going to take some time, right? And this is a little bit of some insight into the future here. So as I mentioned, Greenlight's dividend, apparently one of the big US MJ companies to be the first to do that and offer a dividend to its investors. It could be the last, at least for the foreseeable future. The privately held company issued a dividend in April that makes up a little more than 4% of the total capital invested in Greenlight and total 7 figures. John Mueller, co-founder and chief executive officer, told MJ Biz Daily. He declined to be more specific about the total value of the dividend. While it's special dividend at this stage, Mueller said he hopes it will eventually be issued quarterly. We're trying to standardize the MJ industry and show that we can issue and return capital to our shareholders just like any other industry, Mueller said. Greenlight currently operates 27 MJ stores in Arkansas, Illinois, Missouri, South Dakota, and West Virginia. The Kansas City headquartered company aims to expand to 40 this year. Greenlight, which is also more than 150,000 square feet of cultivation and manufacturing space across its 5-state footprint, brought in more than $250 million in revenue and turned a profit last year, Mueller said. I'm going to be completely honest, that's a staggering number. And this is actually the first time I've heard of this company, or really, I've heard of them before. I just didn't know that to this extent that they were bringing in that much cash in revenue. But wow, it's definitely doing a little bit more of a deeper dive into this one. I mean, it's privately held, and quite frankly, a lot of the opportunity in the MJ space comes from private, right? We know Redican was also a private company. They were profitable before as well, and a lot of these private companies could pave the way for the future and could offer some serious gains, once they become public, or if you can get a private placement in any kind of, private funding, round of funding, right? Which is obviously a lot harder. It's easier said than done because you need to be accredited and things like that, right? And then you need to, get offered to be a part of that private placement, right? So it's not the most easiest thing to do in the world. The company is also debt-free, unlike so many of its competitors across the industry. Florida-based MSO AYR Wellness, for example, reported 400 to 500 million in gross debt. Analyst Matt Bottomley noted that the company's full year and fourth quarter earnings call on March 10th. So dividends from other companies unlikely to follow. Greenlight is funded largely through cash flow and operations and requires minimal capital, Mueller said. That's different from all of our peers that are kind of our size, he said. So we don't need to worry about paying down high teens or mid-teen interest rates, and we don't have to handcuff ourselves from lenders, allowing us to get back to our shareholders. Some companies are cash flow positive and could issue dividends in theory, Jason Wilson, an MJ research and banking expert at New Jersey-based exchange-traded fund ETF MJ, told MJ Biz Daily via email. And Massachusetts-based multi-state MJ operator MaryMed, for example, reported positive cash flow from operations for the third year in its 2022 financial results. So we'll just scroll down here. But given the high cost of capital that much of the MJ industry is grappling with, any company with excess cash flow will likely put it toward debt retirement and growth opportunities. For companies that have excess cash flow combined with manageable debt loads, cost-effective access to capital, and limited planned capital expenditures, given the relatively suppressed valuations of the industry, I would expect to see those companies conduct share repurchases before issuing dividends, Wilson said. And something to keep in mind as well is that Safe Banking Act is reintroduced into the Senate and the House. I did a video on this, so reintroduced in House and Senate. As you know, this has been the 10th time now, basically, and it always stalls out in the Senate, but just goes to show you that in that one of the main focuses is to allow access to for these companies to get financing, right? So again, this kind of goes in line with what they're saying here with those companies that are not exactly strapped for cash. If we can get safe banking, that's going to only help the future of dividends, in my opinion, as well. Also, they go on to talk about M&A, so mergers and acquisition opportunities. So before joining the M&A industry, Mueller and his co-founder brother Jim worked as consultants for banks and defaulting loans. Sometimes they would buy defaulting manufacturing or specialty construction companies, turn the businesses around, and sell them. The more hair on the dog, the more we like it, and we're not scared of much, Mueller said. So far, Greenlight's growth strategy has been to win its license through lotteries rather than acquire them from other companies, which we know can be expensive. Now, with the high number of distressed M&A opportunities available, the company will likely announce some acquisitions in the near future, according to Mueller. Rather than relying on equity or high interest MJ lenders, as many public companies do, Greenlight will use cash and Federal Deposit Insurance Corp, FDIC, debt from federally insured institutions such as Lee Bank and Focus Bank, both based in Missouri, to pay for those acquisitions. Mueller said he's glad that Greenlight is privately held. He also noted that the executives at public companies likely wish that they could go back to being private in the current economic environment through a leveraged buyout. But Mueller also believes that the current low valuations of public companies aren't reflective of how well run they are, and I would 100% agree with that. They're all making a significant amount of money today, he said. And MSO Green Thumb, for example, is trading at four or five times its earnings, Mueller's noted, while the average stock trades at 13 times its earnings. Everybody's going to regret not coming in at the floor here, he said. And I would agree, right? Now's the time. I just did a video as well on the MSOs ETF and a trade opportunity there. Trade opportunity of about 100 to 200%. I encourage you to check that out. Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Finland. There's even progress in Finland with regards to legalization. Check out my video on Curaleaf earnings. It's just staggering the amount of money that these companies are bringing in. And like I said, the fact that, Boris Jordan, if not for 280E, Curaleaf would already be paying a dividend more than likely. So again, I can't stress enough how, big these companies are going to be in the future, the medicine of the future. This is only ever going to happen once. And quite frankly, I would have to agree with Mueller that these rock bottom prices are a gift, right? Gift from heaven, and this might be the last time that we see prices this low. Not to say that we can't go lower from here, but now is definitely a good time, in my opinion. Not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. But now is a good time to start, continuing to plan for the future and dollar cost average. Continue to diversify, add positions. Maybe look at adding some companies in the U.S. if you don't have any. Again, this is just my perspective and my opinion. I got about 15 different MJ stocks. I own a mix of producers in the U.S., in Canada. I've got some retailers, some ETFs. And I'm preparing for the inevitability of legalization, not just in the US, but around the world. And this will only ever happen once. So going down to there, thanks again for joining us on The Pursuit of Wealth. Let me know what you think of this news. Do you think we're going to see lots of dividends in the future from this industry? It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us on The Pursuit of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.